Christine says here, I find people get very uncomfortable hearing about others who have issues with long term debilitating illnesses, special needs kids. Yes, that's true. I was asked them the question, about what parts they don't share. And of course, we've all got those stories. And if anybody knows how that is, you are one of those because you could have let life beat you down. I mean, you were a foster kid in the system, and I'm sure everybody by now has heard the stories of foster systems. It's not easy. And over a 6 year period, you had 22 mothers. I know I was doing the math. That's almost four a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then, not only that, you're gay, you're black, you're living in
I
the
am.
southern U.S. Huh? I mean, it's all of these things that could have been, in that situation, could have compiled and held you back, but no, that's what was. I think that's freaking amazing, but in anybody's standards in those situations, and yet you have literally turned it around into your messy story into your greatest strength, and you're giving hope. You've been in front of millions of people, and that's freaking powerful. Rather than hiding it, I mean,
Well, I'll say this about that. We start getting taught, groomed, persuaded, if you will, when we're little kids. Um, at least I did in my household. I remember going to church and hearing a song, "This Little Light of Mine, I'm gonna let it
I love
shine.
that.
Hide it under a bushel? No, I'm gonna let it shine." And then a few years later, junior high, I think maybe later, high school, came across the book The Alchemist. And the line that stuck with me in there was, I was in the system by then, so yeah, I was a teenager. Um, it said something like, if you ignore your blessing or you miss your blessing, it eventually will become your curse. And so it works in both directions. For me, I didn't miss my blessing. I didn't know there was one. Uh, and so I kind of held on to my reality like a shame thing, a curse thing,
Hmm.
until I said no more. I was done with it. I was done. It was like, you know what? And so it was choice. It really was choice. And to be honest with you, fully transparent, I was doing, I intended to do one thing just to say that I had attempted to change the narrative for myself. I did not expect it to do anything, really, but it was the one thing I had not tried yet. I had avoided it, I had buried it, I had denied it, all the other things. But I said, okay, I'm going to face it, I'm going to speak to it, and I'm going to try to find something good inside of it. Whether I do or not, I'm going to try. And that was the night that I told the story on stage about the 22 mothers, lost or found. And lo and behold, what happened? It only took once. Because if you're seeking the truth, once you find it, you should only need to find that particular truth once. If that's really what you were looking for and you knew where you were going to keep it, how you were going to store it, um, what you were going to do with it to help others. So when it comes, you're expecting it. You don't squander it. You've been expecting it. So that's what happened. But what I didn't expect was that, and I did not know this was a thing at the time, I had manifested that night for myself for healing. But what is greater than me had manifested an entire, so far, decade and a half uh, more because of that one moment of courage, is all it took to flip it from shame to fame. And I wasn't looking for fame, but I was looking for an explanation, justification, understanding, and a way to feel like I was capable of contributing positively to the world, to other people. I just needed something to make me feel like I was worth something. And it
Yeah.
was in my own story. I
Hmm.
looked everywhere else.
Duh, right?
I looked everywhere else and finally got around to myself.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I'm with you. I mean, there's been so many parts of my story that I've been hesitant to share, both whether it's business or with my, even with my family, because of, the fear of rejection, the stigma. I mean, so I was diagnosed about 9 years ago with autism.
Hmm.
And
Me
but it
too.
took me 9 years to accept that diagnosis, much less even share it with other people, because you know, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people don't share their neurospiciness because it's normally frowned upon. Though I know the environment I grew up in with my family, man, you didn't have those types of problems, and if you did, you hid them, and that's what I did for a long time. Well, and I
Yeah.
didn't even know for a long time. For me, it was just I thought that I just wasn't normal per se, and I had to get over it. But finally, starting to share that last year has been so freaking freeing.
Hmm. Hmm.
But but I
Yeah.
mean, here you are, you've taken your story, you've turned it into an origin story. It's establishing credibility,
I got to stop there.
transparency.
I'm gonna stop there because I wrote that down. You said that phrase earlier, and I wrote it down and circled it. That little pink thing right there. When you said I took my story and I turned it into that right there, I believe is the misstep, the misconception. Uh, that needs to be reframed, in my opinion,
Okay.
because we see that's where people. That's the opposite, actually. When people turn their story into something, they embellish or they omit. They
Good point.
change the truth, which now you're offering the world and yourself and the future world a version which is out of context. No matter if you're a creationist or a Big Bang kind of person,
Hmm.
our stories all start in one of two places. It's either if you're a creationist in the beginning, if you're the other, once upon a time. But the reason it's important to go back to the very beginning is because you have an obligation to bring every one of the versions of yourself that had a hand, that had a voice in this story with you. A lot of us have to go back to the beginning in order to heal our inner child. That's very important. I didn't even know it was a real thing. I just thought people talked shit about it
No, it is a real
until it
thing.
happened. Until it
Yeah.
happened. So another reason is because then once I healed my inner child or knew that it was possible, all of a sudden my focus shifted to the children of today because I encounter them everywhere. And what I love about it the most is I get to do one thing. I get to get down on their level. I get to look them in the eye and I get to lay one of my greatest truths on them. And it's this. I know right now that trauma you're dealing with, it sucks. It doesn't feel
Yeah.
good. It doesn't make you feel good. But know this, and this is for all of you. If you go back to the very first memory of when trauma touched your life, I guarantee you, if you stare at it long enough through your spirit, you will find that that was the exact moment that whatever you believe is greater than you literally marked you for future greatness. It's true. It is a
Hmm.
birthmark, you know, it's a blessing. It really is. I say all the time, I love me some trauma, not drama, but trauma, because trauma will sharpen you unlike anything else in this universe. Trauma will give you reason to relate to someone other than yourself like nothing
Hmm.
else in this universe. And trauma will remind you of the importance of celebrating the distance, how far you have traveled in your journey. You know, a lot of when we run from the past, we leave all that goes with it in the past. And the risky part of that is this: once you start burying things and omitting it, you start believing your own lies, your own versions. You're always looking over your shoulder. thinking someone is going to expose this piece you left out. I'll give an
Truth.
example. Yes, and I'm not ashamed to say this because it really happened, and I'm so glad I listened to the voice. It was my very first speaking engagement, and it was here in Chicago, where I live, and it was for 250 professional speakers. Right? Um, I was literally in the car with my husband, ready to leave, and I heard the instruction to come back in, go back on my computer, pull up my PowerPoint, and add one more slide. I'm like, what? And then I heard, yes, you need to include your prison ID. My what? And I went right to the last slide and slipped it in, hoping secretly that I wouldn't have enough time to get to the end. But I've been obedient, or so I thought, until I heard, no, not there. Make it your first slide. Now I'm
Ooh.
hoping the power isn't working, so I don't have to do the PowerPoint. And what I chose to do so that I could understand whatever I needed to understand was, instead of starting the PowerPoint after hitting the stage, I had them put that up on the screen while they were introducing me, and I watched from behind the curtain, and I saw the people while they were hearing the accolades. I could see them like this, and then I saw, and that's when I walked out. Because here's why. In that moment, I caught them off guard, and I said, I know what you're thinking. You're looking at that and going, what? Why would they? How could he? But I want you to know something. That person on the screen, that person on the screen is not, it's hard to explain unless you're faced with it. But I will say this. I believe that each and every one of us, we don't have to be told what to do that's right. We know what's right.
Yeah,
You
you've
know,
got your own compass.
you somehow, you just do right. You have to
Hmm.
take up the battle. I believe, if people mention your name and you hear, oh shit, oh hell, oh damn, you're not doing something right. But
You're
if people,
definitely not doing well.
but if people mention your name and they say, oh, she's so sweet, he's so nice. Well, there you go. Now, doing the right thing, you have to be willing to be patient because it may not be profitable. It may not be expedient. But know this, it will sharpen you like nothing else can. It will satisfy your soul. And most importantly, it removes so many layers of unnecessary and unfounded fears because it will protect you in a way that no bodyguard could ever protect you. And it also, the most important thing of all, when you tell your whole story, you face your whole story, is you have not committed the cardinal sin, which is lying to yourself.
Hmm. Amen. Amen on that. I mean, if you can't be honest with yourself, who can you be honest with, right?
Nobody. No one at all.
Exactly.
No one at all.
Yeah.
And I've interviewed people over the years on my show, 9 years now. And my third, I just got a card from her yesterday. My third foster mother out of 22, Mrs. Valentine. She's 99 years old. I just went and
Oh
visited
wow.
her a couple weeks ago for her birthday. And she she said to me, she said to me, I remember she was my school counselor at the time, when this all happened to me. Um, and she said to me in the card just yesterday, I remember telling you you had a gift for speaking and trying to convince you to learn how to honor your gift. Because back then you were so angry, you didn't know how to respond. You only knew how to react, which meant there was no filter and you had no idea how powerful your ability to convince people to listen to you was. And so Today, all these years later, when I sit and I talk with her, and I call her every Sunday for a longevity tip, and because she's 99,
Yeah.
and she said this to me. She goes, "I'll tell you the most lonely part of being 99. You have to force yourself to only reminisce and exchange and share stories that are like 5 or 10 years from where you are currently. Because past that point, everybody who's in the story or that can relate to the story in most cases are dead. They're gone." That's what she said. She
Oh
goes, "It's
God.
like nobody can relate to you." So it's important that you, because many days she goes, all I have are my memories that extend back further than the people around me. They weren't even born. But I
Mm-hmm.
look back on memories that are divine memories because they are truth. I don't
Yeah.
look back on things that make me regret. I don't have to look back on things that, ooh, I remember that lie, you know? So it's
Mm-hmm.
just, I say this. I believe one day when we leave this world, there's one of two doors we get to go through, and they're both marked with an R. We don't get to choose. Only one of them will be unlocked. Which one will it be? Will it be the one that leads to the world of regret because that's what you created here? Or will it be a world of rejoicing because that's what you created here? You know.
Yeah. I'm
So,
hoping it'll be rejoicing for most of our listener, all of our listeners, and everybody that's around. Let's break this down a little. I mean, we're talking about being transparent here, and I had Paul Banks sent in a brilliant question on this that I know is on everybody's mind here, and probably Christine and David, who's with us in the chat as well. But so we want to be transparent. We want to share our story as truthfully as possible. So where do you draw the line on being transparent, and when does it become oversharing and just sharing a dirty laundry?
well, here's a recommendation. And I try my best to convince people that want to enter into the influencer space. Don't come into it knowing I'm a shoe in because of my poor me, pity me story. I thought that when I started, I thought for sure I'll get hired to do hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of foster care events because I'm an authority on it. It was the last place I got hired. It was. I'm not kidding. I have something on the 25th of this month in Charleston, North Carolina, and it's 750 people in the Department of Social Services for that state. And it's only the second time that I've been paid to speak to that audience.
Wow.
And so the thing is, there is no shortage of traumatic, poor is me, woe is me stories. That's not
Mm,
what's going to do it for you. Um, that's tied to the martyr, the victim kind of thing. Well, first of all, we only die once, but we must live every day. So people are more interested in compelling stories about how to live when you feel there's nothing to live for. How to live when your world doesn't seem like it's contributing to living, it's just surviving.
hmm
You know, um, people want the antidote, not the poison.
hmm
Okay.
Yeah, well, they want
The,
hope.
the things that we went through that sucked, yes, you acknowledge it, you get it out there, and you move past it. But you get to, now I know it sucked. I know I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but here's why I wouldn't change a thing. And then I go to my bottle of antidote. I made this. You must first have the poison in order to create the antidote for that poison. It is in EpiPens. It is in get bitten by a rattlesnake. They're going to give you an antidote that was created from rattlesnake poison, venom. So that's easy. That well, here's the thing too. Follow the clues, the promises, no matter what your belief system is. For instance, when things start to hurt, well, if we've not lied to ourselves and we remind ourselves of the truths, then we should get encouraged because they're not called growing tickles. They're called growing pains. So when you're
Mhm.
growing, it's like this. This is the system I've employed. It's a need to know basis within purpose. Need to know, the light bulbs come. Oh, I never thought of it like that. Need to know when it's time to grow. Now there's some pain attached. But guess what?
Yeah.
When you put them together, they create the prayer hands. Now, why is that important? Because when you are doing your best, whether it feels like it, looks like it, with no validation, it is true. When you are doing your best, everything that is working for you, their prayers are poured into your journey, your ancestors, the people you're going to serve in the future. All these prayers are poured into your journey. Nothing sustainable comes from the mindset that this is happening to me, the victim mindset.
Yep. Agreed.
Mm-mm.
It's happening for you.
For you. And that sounds cliche, I know, but it is true.
Mm-hmm.
So I suggest employing a couple things early in the game to keep you on point for that mindset until you can grow into the fullness of it. So, for instance, little things that you remind yourself of, like this: remember that it's never about just one thing. That's why you have heads or tails, hot or cold, truth or false, north or south. Um, and then also remind yourself right after that, but that does not mean, okay, that was good. When's the other shoe going to drop? Expecting something negative just because you're inside of a positive. No, you can go from great to greater. And there again, it's not just one thing. We get to choose the direction. And then if you also believe that there, I don't believe the creation, whatever you call them, I refer to them as greater than, everything greater than me. They told me we don't make mistakes, Loren. Everything we do is just to keep your shit interesting. How can you make a difference in the world if you're not interesting? People will not be interested in anything you have to do if you're not interesting.
Well,
So don't.
also, how can you make a difference if you've never had any of the experiences? Because if you haven't experienced it, then you can't do. You actually don't know how to change it.
You have nothing to relate and nothing to be
Uh-uh.
relatable
No,
through,
at this point, you've asked AI, and you're one of those fake people that's pretending to be something.
which we never have to do. Just the human experience guarantees all of us that we should never have to come up with anything. If you're going to
Mhm.
write something about your life, you should never experience writer's block. You shouldn't come into your story with an angle, slippery salesman mentality. Because here's why: your greatest truths and your greatest ability to heal and help other people is going to be found in the truths of the day you are currently living, the life you're currently living, or the life you just most recently lived, today or yesterday. A lot of people believe, falsely, in my opinion, that they are influencing people in a sustainable way simply by holding up accolades from decades ago. In the 80s, I did this. What have you done for me lately? What have you done for yourself lately? What have you done for others lately? I encourage people to create your legacy every day, not on things you did decades ago. Build it on things you did moments ago.
So keep growing, keep sharing the most more current growing than just going back to your beginning growth.
Yes. And be purposeful. I was told a long time ago, I had the download, Loren, if you want to leave a lasting impression, legacy in this world,
Hmm.
you only have to do two things. And really, it's one. When you do one, you've done the other. I'm listening, I said. You must be willing to get up every day with the belief, the faith, that there is something available to you in this day that you can bring to this world that they've never experienced before. But that also means, in order to pull that off, you must be willing to believe that you can show up today as a Loren you've never been before. So it forces me every day to get up, and I've done a thing. I've added a codicil to my living will, where, and this wasn't so long ago. It was after the last memorial service I went to. I said, "No, I'm changing this." I have an addendum in there that anything that's printed, obituary, newsletter, announcements, whatever, about my passing on, and this includes if there's a service and people get up and speak. No one can print or speak anything about Dr. Loren's experience with them. No stories regaled that are older than 14 days. Because
I
I don't
love it.
want people to stand up and say, in 1974, I want people to stand up and say, you know what? It was just last Tuesday.
I was born in 1974.
Right? Well, I was born in 1962. How nice for you. So, but seriously, I think it will be, I know it will be. It will have more impact for people to hear story after story after story. It was just, you know, I think 3 days ago, I got an email from Dr. Loren where he encouraged me to. So, what it does is, I don't put those things there like the video I was going to create. Hi, if y'all are watching this, you know what that means. I'm having lunch with Whitney Houston. I was going to do that. I was going to have one of those where, I'm on the screen. But there was something that did not feel divinely timed doing it that way. It felt like an imposter. That guy on the screen would be an imposter. So, why is what I chose the right choice? I know because of this. It's not about what they get when the time comes. It's about what I get every day until the time comes. What it does is I get up every day now because that's in writing. It makes me get up and go, what am I going to find today to offer the world that will ease some form of suffering, that will be something memorable for them? Because in order for people to repeat something, to keep that story alive, they have to remember it. And they have to have a reason to remember it. So, what am I going to say today that is worth people remembering? Why should it take up space in their file cabinet of memories? Because it must hold value that is important to them. And so it forces me to make sure I don't just talk words, speak words, have conversations with 0 calories. They must be nutritious. They must be filled, chock full.
So, do you start your day with trying to decide an idea that maybe you plan on sharing that day, or do you just still let it come to you when it hits you?
I don't, well, it's already there. Because here's the deal, I look for one E and one R every day. That's it. That is the extent of my expectations. Because it takes everything I already am. The moment my eyes fly open or have to be peeled open, depends on what kind of night it was. Uh, the minute I open my eyes before my feet hit the floor, right there beside me, metaphorically, sometimes physically, is my list of gratitudes from the day before.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I do have one. And why? Because I took at night, when I had found and identified my ERs, I am nicer than I was when I woke up this morning because, in the grocery store parking lot, that woman didn't see her cart rolling away. And it almost hit the car next to me. And I turned just in time to drop my groceries in the trunk and prevent that. That was really nice. So I am nicer. I can stop there if I choose to, but I keep going. That took bold to bolder. That took strong to stronger. That took kind to kinder. Great. Why is that important? Because now I have contributed to
Yeah.
leaving something or someone better than the way I found them, including myself.
Mhm.
Now, the magic in ER is that it reverses itself while I'm in subconscious state, really doing nothing, or so you think. What I mean by that is when I wake up before my feet hit the floor, because I tucked my dreams for tomorrow, I tucked them in the night before by reading them a story from my list of gratitudes. Today we were great, and we're greater tonight because we did this.
There's
Now,
nothing like the power of gratitude.
Exactly, because it
Nothing.
feeds your soul. The next day, when I wake up, my energy is already in place because they're standing there waiting for me to start my day. I'm looking at
Mm.
a version of me that says revived, renewed, replenished, refreshed, remembered, re everything. It means wash, rinse, repeat. Get up and let's do it again. You know?
Yeah.
So it reminds me of the commitment, the covenant, why we're here. I've always, not always, for a long time, I've had the mindset, Heidi, even when it came to my life partner, my husband, when I manifested or started to manifest him at the age of 22 after one failed 6 week relationship, I knew then I don't need any more of that. I saw it, I lived it, and I only needed it once. Now I know I want the exact opposite. So here's the deal I'd like to cut. I put it out there. I am willing to wait until the last 5 minutes of my life for you to bring me my everything. Because I would rather spend the last 5 minutes with my everything than all the minutes between now and those last five with just anything.
So how long did that take, and how long have you been with him?
We've been together 12 years, married 10, and it
Aw.
took from the age of 22. Seriously, no dates, no relationships. I just assumed I was going to be alone
Wow.
until I was 50 years old.
That's
But
amazing.
the way it came in, there were no regrets. It was the great equalizer. It erased the timeline. It made everything perfectly timed, divine timing. Because
Hmm.
when I saw my husband and laid eyes on him for the first time, walking towards me, I'm looking at it right now. I've never seen it before, and I have never seen it since. There was literally a golden aura around his person. So much so, he was standing right in front of me, still talking on the phone. I'm guiding him in. I'm down here. That's me waving, and he's standing in front of me, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." So he said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Oh, nothing." I said, "Here's my door. Go ahead. You go first." He goes, "But it's your house. Shouldn't you go in first?" I was like, "No, no, you first." Because as soon as he turned around, I did this. I was like, "Is that real?" It it was. And what it did for me, Heidi, was every second that passed, it was a moment that for the first time in a long time, I didn't want it to end.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that's what happened after 5 hours, our first date, 5 hours, and I did everything. I was in the studio recording my album at the time. I played everything. I sang everything. I cooked lamb chops. I was like, can I do? If I could have come up with a Dancing with the Stars routine, I would have to impress him because I felt this universal urgency as the clock ticked. Before he leaves here, you need to tell him what you feel and what you saw. But he'll think I'm crazy. Who cares? Do not, we repeat, do not let this divine moment pass. You will regret it. So, in the last second, last hour,
It can happen.
I said it. I just said, well, you're leaving. In case I never see you again, I must tell you this. I have been waiting since the age of 22 for my promise to be fulfilled that I would find my everything. And today I believe you walked in as just that. I want you to know if you will give me permission, if you will allow it, I'll wait as long as it takes to convince you that we should be together for the rest of my life.
Oh, what did he do?
He looked at me because I didn't know he was a therapist at the time. He was keeping his real life secret. And he said, this is what his face looked like.
Do you think he should be committing you?
I know I see him going through his all of his questions, betrayals. He was working his way to that same kind of a place where he had left his heart's desire for a person. I saw him being reconnected to it, his original commitment to himself. And when he got there, he looked at me in a way he had not yet, ever, in that day. And he looked at me and he went, huh, and you're serious? I said, extremely. And he went, okay, then go for it.
That's amazing.
And we have been together ever since.
That is freaking incredible.
It
It's
really is.
yeah, completely incredible.
Now,
Well, let's
now I
catch
want
up
to
with
add
some
one.
of our let's catch up with some of our guests real quick, just because,
I thought I was the guest.
not our guests. Sorry, our people in the comments.
All
We're
right,
leaving
people in
our
the
audience
comments.
behind.
Yeah, I know what
Yeah,
you
so
mean.
Christine, she had said that trauma is the fire that forges us. I agree with her on that. She also said, I like to say that when things get really interesting around here, it is sweeps week in heaven, and our life is what it is on television.
Hmm. I love the way that sounds.
Right?
I do. I do. I do. I get it. I really do. I really get it. I'll say this to anyone out there that's going, yeah, that's that woo woo crock of shit stuff. Yeah,
Oh, and
these are.
they are. We've got
I
people saying
I
that.
of course, and that's okay because you know you have a right to choose what you believe. But the thing I would encourage everybody, if you remember nothing else from this interview from me, wait on it. Just wait on it. Be
Mhm.
patient. Stand your ground. Write the definition, your definition of your heart's desires. Don't take one of those templates of what people said it should be for you. Here's what you want, you know, or whatever they think is good for you. Wait on it, you know. Sometimes we're pressured into moving into something that we never wanted all along. And then you end
Amen
up
on
being,
that.
yeah, and you end up being one of those people, people that I have so many coaching clients that became certified specialist surgeons, specialized surgeons in their field, um, trial attorneys, a judge, careers that took decades and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and everybody around them in their close circle is proud to say, oh, my daughters are this or my sons are that, and then
Yeah.
they decide to walk away, just leave it in the middle of the road, and do something like my one client. She's a happiness coach. She was a trial attorney, and she was one of the most successful in Australia. Uh, she was a TV attorney. And, on the news all the time, they call her in as an expert. And she just left
Mhm.
it. People thought she was crazy. People were mad because her family, they can't brag about our daughter, the famous attorney now. So, how's your daughter, the famous attorney? Oh, you mean the one? She's not, she's an influencer now on social media. She's on Facebook. What? Leave.
Yeah.
Get in her car. Don't come here again and tell your
People
daughter.
just don't get it when you pursue what it is you're actually called to do. Sometimes it's not the traditional thing, it's not that thing. It's just not.
And in most cases, it's this: be keep the option available for some moment in time before you leave this world to at least try to experience that thing, not that you get paid for, but that thing that you were made for. Even
Hmm.
if you say, I just give me 3 minutes of it, take it. There's I would not want anyone to leave this journey not having at least dangled their feet in the pool of purpose.
Right. Completely.
It will answer every question. It will explain everything that was previously inexplainable.
Well, and especially if you actually go for that thing that you are always called. And we've all got, at some point in your life, you've had something that was trapped in there and you didn't let it out for whatever reason. Um, but when you finally do, just how free and light you feel, and just like you can do anything,
Mhm.
absolutely anything at that moment. Whether you're it's it's your big money maker or you're not, but
And
you're
you
going to
know
make a
what
bunch of money.
convinces people of that they don't realize? Here's a hack, you guys. Seriously, seriously. If you blink, you could miss it in your journey, so you must be looking for it. And it is this: the first big vat of magic that was poured over me came from a thimble of what I poured on someone else. The first time I moved consciously out of my own way, I had a whole shitload of stuff going on in that moment. But someone else's issue overrode everything going on in my world. And out of nowhere, I found myself making it about them. That thimble, you know what? I lived that. Here's what I can tell you about it. And I did. And then they came back later and told me how it changed the course of their life. And
Yeah.
they're like, how? That little? And then, so
You're like, that
really,
was nothing.
it was the thimble I gave away, the thimbleful that came back
Yeah.
like an ocean, a tidal wave, and poured over me.
Yeah. I mean, it's truly amazing when you actually just start giving and freely giving.
Freely, unconditionally.
Yeah, you're not trying to get it back. You're not waiting for and it's recently, and I mean, for me, this is me cleaning up even my speech. Is I used to think win-win. And it's because I truly want everybody to win. I want myself to win. I want them to win. But then I started realizing win-win is keeping score. It's still not freely giving.
Yeah, but you know what, too? Here's another little thing people overlook it. You will not miss a win win. You will have, they will be strung together, they'll be stitched together consistently, but only through the practice of celebrating small victories.
Hmm.
Now, a win is different than a big win is different than a small victory. And here's why: a victory is when we conquer something that was trying to conquer us. When we flip the script, when we give out that pink slip and say, you know what thing that doesn't serve me? Toxic relationship with men or women or whatever it is, my food
Shut the
addiction,
door.
my porn addiction. I want to thank you. I want to thank you first for getting me to this spot right now where we're at. Now, thank you. Now, I got to tell you that now I'm going to forgive your ass because don't think I forgot what you originally came in here trying to do. Start some shit, but it didn't work. And now I want to bless you because I couldn't have gotten here without you.
And you wouldn't be
Now,
who you
that's
are
right.
without it.
And now,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to commission you. I'm going to commission you to leave this place because your service is no longer needed. You've
Hmm.
done your best, and I'll take care of the rest. Now you leave here, and I want you to go, and I want you to try to do the same thing you did with me exactly to as many people as you can so that they can find their higher self as well. So now you go. And one more thing, because you're being banished, you won't come back here. Know this. Go and tell every entity of your type that you pass what's waiting in here for them should they try to come in here. Because I'm not playing with it anymore. And I have you to thank for that. And then I let it go. So it is a process, acknowledging all of the lanes.
Hmm.
Because here's why: things that do not serve us must go. You can't let them just, go to the guest house. Because the longer you leave them free to run inside your world, the more time you're giving them to convince you to serve them.
Truth. Very true.
You know, seriously.
Well,
You
you
know
give
what I
it
mean?
time to take up residence, and you don't want to do that.
And the people that used to tell you, you ain't shit. You're just like your no good dad. Da 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 da. See? Look at you, just like them. Da 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 da. And you are out to prove them wrong. That the last thing I want to do is let her be right or him be right. But then we play right into their hand by allowing their words to create a saboteur
Yeah.
that can
Yep.
override all of our good sense, all the things we know to be true. You got to let it go.
Yeah. And that, of course, as we know, can be hard to let go that inner, because it comes to the inner critic and those brain monkeys that end up, you beat yourself up, which you don't need to, but the best thing you can do is let it go.
Well, that therein is the quandary, because when you're judgmental to other people to make yourself feel better, make your situation seem not so, you're turning the gun on yourself. When you point one finger, there are three pointing at you.
Right.
And judgment.
Judgment's tough on you. I mean, I gotta say, I think self judgment is worse than outside judgment. I mean, we
Because our
beat ourselves. We're
perspective is
mean to
skewed.
ourselves.
Yes. Yes. And you know why, Heidi? Because that's why we have to trust people to sit in the front row seats of our lives, because they are the only resource that can report to us a trusted accounting of our three-dimensional view around us. If you and I have that commitment to each other, you can tell me everything I cannot see about myself. How many times have you taken a selfie or a group picture and then they say, "Let me see," and you turn around and the person goes, "Ew, delete." Why?
Do it
I
again.
looked,
Do it again.
and they don't look anything like they're describing. Everyone else sees something different. And you know how
Yep.
this is. Ask a policeman or an insurance adjuster, anyone that has to go and take the report of what happened. There can be 14, 15 witnesses, eyewitnesses. I was 2 feet from her. I was sitting on her lap.
And it's all different.
Every one of them is going to be different.
Yeah. It's perception. And your own story is getting in the way. And that's what most people don't get.
Exactly. Now, one last thing. This just happened at the end of the year. Or no, it was the beginning of the year. I was on hiatus. I was coming back, to work in like 4 days. I take the last week and the first week of the year off, right? For reflection and everything. And I was sitting here, right here. And I said to God, I said, because I was transferring from my day planner to the new one for the next year, right? And I was flipping through and looking at my little notes and looking at all the guests and all the different speaking events and stuff. And I said, well, that's weird. And I kept going through. And when I got through December, I said, well, when I look at the actual calendar, it doesn't look like I really did as much as I could have. I thought I was a little more successful this year. And I heard God say, Loren, don't do that. When you look at the life you have lived, celebrate the distance by acknowledging not how it looks, but how it makes you feel. And I went
Mm,
back and I started again in January. But this time I just didn't look at the notations. I looked into the name. Oh, yeah. I remember her story. I remember this. And that led to that. And all of a sudden, there was I felt so many feelings wash over me because that reattached me to the knowing. I just didn't create a thing, a show, or an asset, content. I created opportunities, containers, and spaces that
and
provide
memories.
all of us, including myself. They gave it to me. Heidi, you're doing it for me. I'm doing it for you. We're doing it for them.
Mm-hmm.
We create opportunities for people to feel something.
Yep.
And when you
Yeah.
can, and that's what remember Maya Angelou, that's what she said. People will forget what you said, they will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And
Yeah.
there it is.
So they're going to go forward with that for sure. I mean, without that. Well, hey, everyone, as we are heading towards the end of our session, please get your questions for the lovely Dr. Loren into the comments so he can get those answered for you and everything. And then, Dr. Loren, you've already dropped so much value on us, but I'm still going to ask, what's one final thought you want to leave everybody with today?
I'm listening. One final thought. Oh, here it is. I want to share something that is available to every person on this earth right now, walking this earth. We are literally inside of, right now, something known as the Great Outpouring. It's going to be this entire year and a little bit of next year. There is something coming. Be encouraged and expect it. I'm speaking of what I refer to as the four golden horsemen: abundance, increase, prosperity, and blessing. They are coming door to door.
Woo.
When you get the knock or the bell rings and you look through and you see them waiting for you, make sure you're not surprised that they are there, for they will pass you by. Because people that are in this day and age surprised with blessing, they squander it. You must expect it so that you can do what you promised you would do with it when it got here. So know it is coming. Whatever it is that you consider your heart's desires, your time is now. Get ready. Believe like you have never believed before. And how do you do that? It's easy. Do this. Find your way back to everything you ever hoped or dreamed you could be. Take a look through every reflective source in your world today to remind you who you are and why you are where you're at today. And then look over to the right where the future exists, where everything you could ever hope to become is, and allow all those versions of yourself to come together in this moment. Do that. And here's what will happen. You will understand that you are inside of a need to know opportunity because it is time to grow. Expect the pain that comes with it. They're not called growing tickles. And celebrate it. It hurts. I must be growing. And then get there. Everything you need is waiting for you. Everything is designed to work for you in this world. Know this, hold on to it, and don't budge. And watch what happens.
That's deep and brilliant and everything else. I mean, it is.
It's
Get
true.
ready for the blessings, everybody.
They're already here. They're here. You
Yeah.
just got to sign for it.
Yeah.
If you're going to
Well,
sign for it, you got to know who you are.
and you got to be ready to share it, right?
You got to be ready to share it, no matter what, from the rooter to the tutor. Don't give a damn what somebody else thinks. What I care about what you think. You see what I'm saying? People are going
Yeah.
to talk crap about us. They talked about it
They
when I was
are.
homeless. They
It
talked
doesn't
about
matter
it when,
what you do, people are going to talk crap about you.
yeah, yeah. Oh, and this one. Don't try to be the next anybody.
Be yourself.
I'm the next Oprah. No, you're not. If you are even remotely close to something that all or someone that already exists, know this. Sooner or later, one of you will be obsolete, unnecessary. And it's usually going to be the original that sticks. So it won't be you. Be you,
You
the
need to be
only
the
one.
original.
The only one that exists. Don't try to be somebody else. Work and don't, if you're looking for that love of your life, don't look for Miss Right. Don't look for Mr. Right. Look in the mirror and work to becoming Mr. Right, becoming Miss Right. And then your other half will just show up.
That's truth.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So
That's the
there it
way
is.
mine
That's all
worked
I
out
got.
too.
That's all I got for you.
I didn't have that many years between mine, but it still was very unexpected when he showed up.
See? See? Would have showed up a lot sooner had you expected it. Law of attraction, y'all. Law of attraction is
Well,
real.
I will say I was coming. I had been a few years off of coming out of a very bad first marriage, and so I was in a at that point in life of I was just being me at that point, and I was
Yeah.
happy being me at that point. So that's why I wasn't expecting anything new yet because I hadn't started looking. But I guess in the universe decided it was time because their trouble popped up on my doorstep.
Okay. But you grew. You couldn't have gotten to the Heidi that attracted who you have now if you had not been pushed into it by what you had before. They
It's
worked
true.
for you
It is
because they
true.
gave you an up close and real example. See, none of us, when we're finding ourselves in situations with people that, why am I in here with this horrible person or this horrible experience?
It's
Oftentimes,
teaching you something.
it is there to show you what you never want to become. You don't want no
Yep.
more of this now, do you?
Nope.
Catch that off your
I'll
list.
tell you, I was very happy with what I ended up with. I'm very blessed with the person I ended up with.
There you go. And as long as you never forget that or take it for granted, you'll keep it
Yeah.
and it will keep you. Thank you so much for having me, Heidi. It was a real pleasure.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your amazing wisdom with us.
Thank you.
And to our audience, for all your energy, your questions, and thoughts as well. We appreciate you. This is the reason we do this. Anybody who couldn't join us live, drop your biggest takeaway after you watch the replay. Your questions in the comments. We'll pop back by and answer them.
Yay.
And we'll be seeing you next week, where I'm going to be talking with the amazing Debbie Bryan, who is and there we got a lovely scooter going by. Sorry, guys. But she is a TEDx speaker and mentor that's going to be joining me next Thursday. So thank you again, Dr. Loren. Appreciate you so much. And I will actually be seeing you tomorrow
I was
on
hoping you would say
Bathrobe
that.
Moments.
Bathroom moments, you guys. 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. You don't want to miss when the tables turn tomorrow.
Do not. You want to be there. So thank you again. Goodbye,
Sure.
everybody.